It begins with a sound, a short, mechanical whir, then a click, and if you were using the wrong disk, or if the drive was feeling temperamental that day, maybe another sound followed, a sharper one.
That's the noise. That's the click you don't want to hear.
The kind of sound that made people freeze. The kind that earned a nickname whispered across computer labs and design studios. The click of death. But before fear, there was excitement. Because sometime in the late 1990s, if you walked into a graphic design studio, a college computer lab, or even a small office that dealt with large files, you might notice something new sitting beside the computer. A small plastic cartridge, usually blue. It looked a little like a floppy disk that had gone through some kind of evolution. Bigger, stronger, more serious. And inside that plastic shell was something that, for a brief moment in time, felt almost miraculous. A single disk that could hold 100 megabytes. Today, that sounds tiny. But in 1995, it felt enormous. Entire projects could fit inside it. Photos, layouts, presentations, sometimes even short videos. For a few years, these disks traveled everywhere, passed between coworkers, mailed between offices, tucked carefully into backpacks like tiny vaults of digital work. They were called zip disks, and the machine that read them was the zip drive. For a moment in computing history, it seemed like this small blue cartridge might become the standard way the world moved digital information. But history, as it often does, had other plans. And the story of this strange little storage device, its rise, its strange quirks, and its quiet disappearance, is exactly the kind of story we like to uncover here on Retro Treasure Unearthed. Before cloud storage, before USB flash drives, before most people even had reliable internet connections at home, moving digital files was surprisingly difficult. Early personal computers relied heavily on the floppy disk, a technology that dated back to the 1970s. By the 1990s, the standard 3.5-inch floppy disk could hold 1.44 megabytes of data. That was fine for simple documents, but computers were evolving quickly. Programs were getting larger. Images were becoming higher resolution. And the rise of desktop publishing, graphic design, and digital photography meant files were beginning to grow beyond what floppy disks could reasonably hold. Imagine trying to move a single 20-megabyte project using floppy disks. It might require 15 separate disks. If one failed, the entire transfer could collapse. The world needed something better, something that could carry large files in one place, something reliable, portable, and affordable. In the mid-1990s, one company believed it had the answer, a company called Iomega, and the device they created would become one of the most recognizable pieces of computer hardware of its time. To understand the zip drive, we first have to understand the world that existed before it. By the early 1990s, personal computers had become common in offices and universities, but their storage systems were still struggling to keep up with growing demands. Hard drives inside computers were expanding rapidly, sometimes reaching hundreds of megabytes. But removable storage, the kind you could physically carry from one machine to another, was stuck in the past. The humble floppy disk remained the standard, and while it had once been revolutionary, by the mid-90s it was starting to feel painfully limited. Large files had to be split across multiple disks. Disk failures were common, and transferring work between offices could become a logistical puzzle of labeled plastic squares. Several companies tried to solve this problem. Some experimented with optical discs. Others explored removable hard drives. But many of these solutions were expensive, complicated, or incompatible with common computers. Then in 1994, Iomega introduced something new, the zip drive. At first glance, the device didn't look particularly revolutionary. It was a small external drive, usually connected through a computer's parallel port, and it used removable cartridges called zip disks. But what mattered was capacity. A single disk could hold 100 megabytes. To put that into perspective, that was the equivalent of nearly 70 floppy disks. Suddenly, tasks that once required stacks of plastic disks could be handled with a single cartridge. Design studios immediately noticed. Desktop publishing had exploded in the early 1990s. Programs like Adobe Photoshop and Quark Express were pushing file sizes upward. A single magazine layout project might contain dozens of large images. And now, those projects could be carried on one disk. The zip drive spread quickly through creative industries. Graphic designers used it. Advertising agencies relied on it. Print shops began requesting work delivered on zip disks. Soon, universities installed them in computer labs. Students carried disks between classrooms. Offices used them to transport presentations and spreadsheets. Even some home users adopted the technology. The zip disk became a small blue symbol of digital mobility. But the story of the zip drive was not just about technology. It was also about timing. Because in the mid-1990s, the Internet was still slow. Email attachments had strict size limits. Cloud storage didn't exist, and transferring files online could take hours or fail entirely. So physical media still mattered, and zip disks filled that gap perfectly. Iomega leaned heavily into marketing. Advertisements showed people moving large files effortlessly. Bright blue disks appeared in magazines and computer stores. Soon, many new computers even began offering internal zip drives. By the late 1990s, the technology had expanded further. Iomega released 250 megabyte zip disks. Later, 750 megabyte versions. Different models supported faster connections. USB began replacing the older parallel port versions, and for a moment, it looked like the zip format might dominate removable storage. But there was a problem. Actually, several. First was cost. Zip disks were significantly more expensive than floppy disks, and the drives themselves were not cheap. Businesses could justify the expense. Students and home users sometimes could not. Second was compatibility. A zip disk required a zip drive. If someone didn't have the drive, the disk was useless. Floppy disks, by contrast, worked almost everywhere. But the most infamous issue of all was mechanical. Some drives developed a fault that produced a distinctive clicking sound. The drive head would repeatedly attempt to read the disk. Click, click, click. Sometimes the disk became unreadable. Worse, a damaged disk could occasionally damage other disks inserted afterward. Users gave the phenomenon a chilling nickname, the click of death. For professionals storing valuable work, that phrase became terrifying. Even though the issue did not affect every drive, the reputation spread quickly through online forums and tech communities. Trust, once broken, is difficult to restore. And at the same time, another technology was quietly evolving. Recordable CDs. By the late 1990s, CDR drives were becoming affordable. A single CD could hold 650 megabytes, far more than a zip disk, and unlike zip disks, CDs could be read by nearly any computer with a CD drive. Then came another shift: USB flash drives, small, solid state, no moving parts, no spinning disks, no clicks. Within a few short years, the world of removable storage was changing again. And the zip drive, once a symbol of progress, began to feel strangely old. For those who lived through the era, zip disks weren't just technology. They were companions to creative work. You might label one carefully with a marker: final project, client files, backup. Some people carried entire collections, little stacks of blue cartridges inside plastic cases. Each disc held something important: a semester's worth of assignments, a freelance design project, a collection of photos from an early digital camera. There was a ritual to using them. Insert the disc, wait for the drive to spin, watch the small indicator light blink, then open the folder and see your files appear. In many ways, the experience felt physical, in a way digital storage rarely does today. You could hold your work, place it on a shelf, hand it to someone else, and when you lost one, you felt it, because sometimes the only copy of something existed on that single blue disk. The zip drive did not vanish overnight. For several years, it continued to exist alongside newer technologies, but gradually its advantages began to shrink. CDR and CDRW disks offered far greater capacity. They were cheaper, and they worked in standard CD drives. USB flash drives then pushed the idea even further. Suddenly, people could carry gigabytes of data on a device smaller than a keychain. No spinning parts, no special drive required, and perhaps, most importantly, no clicking sounds. By the early 2000s, new computers stopped including zip drives. Design studios transitioned to CDs and external hard drives. Students moved to flash drives, and eventually, even those began to fade as online storage and cloud services became the new standard. The zip disk quietly joined the long line of storage formats that once felt essential. Floppy disks, mini disks, writable DVDs, technologies that defined their moment and then stepped aside. Today, if you find a zip disk in an old drawer, it might feel strangely mysterious, a small blue cartridge from another era of computing. An era when digital files still had weight, when moving information meant physically carrying it from one place to another. The zip drive existed during a fascinating transition, a bridge between the analog habits of the past and the invisible networks of the present. For a few brief years, it solved a problem that millions of people faced every day. And then the world changed. Faster connections arrived. Storage became smaller, cheaper, and eventually almost invisible. But the memory of these little blue disks remains, a reminder that every technology, even the ones that seem permanent, are only temporary chapters in a much longer story. And sometimes the most interesting treasures are the ones we almost forgot. Here on Retro Treasure Unearthed, those forgotten chapters are exactly what we love to uncover.